Welcome back to week 10 of the Ground Up Challenge. Goodness, alarming. My camera is about to run out of battery apparently, so let's get a move on. I'm trying to reseed the infrastructure of our food industry, allowing us to create food security within the UK through collaboration and connectivity. To achieve that, I've spun up 3 different projects. One is a small farm here in Essex, where we have a small herd of Australian lowline cattle and a small flock of 350 laying hens. The purpose of that farm is to become a proof of concept, to not only prove that small farming still works and you can make money at it, but also for me to understand the challenges around being a farmer and also build connection with other farmers in the area and across the country. That's working really well. Developing and understanding the problems, proving that it is working is quite hard work, and we're a long way from making a profit, so I haven't quite yet proven that small farming works, but we're working on it. The second thing is I'm trying to build up a social media community to deepen this connection as we go and make sure that I can bring people along on the journey and also find like-minded people like myself to work with and collaborate with as we change the system. And then finally, I am building that system platform called Yosis. And what Yosis does is it decentralizes production and centralizes supply. And it does that by allowing merchants to create their own shops, but also fundamentally provides the pipeline for those merchants to connect to other shops, providers, retailers, and then also the direct to consumer as well. That platform is not yet live yet. I've got a demo on the 11th for my first customer. I'll also be amongst the first customers of that platform as well, by both building out a marketplace, which will be my village shop, and also a marketplace for hatching eggs as well. So let's jump in. Last week I told you all about how I had managed to get something in my eye.
If you're calling to book, amend or cancel a sight test or contact lens appointment, please press 1.
Good morning. I was hoping you could help. I think I've managed to get something in my eye, and I was looking online, and it suggests that you're an eye clinic as well as a opticians.
Yeah,
That's
so
the word I'm looking for.
The way it works is we can fill out a triage and then an optometrist can give advice.
I went to the opticians because I didn't want to waste NHS time or go to the A&E unnecessarily. Met a lovely optician called Elliot, who whipped out a cotton bud, and I knew from then he wasn't going to be able to help me because I've already attacked it with a cotton bud, but he tried flicking it out with a cotton bud. He thought it was a thorn, but then said I got to go to the local hospital. He referred me to the local hospital, who called me up about 6 p.m. that evening. He said, we want you to come in now in half an hour because we don't want to leave it in anymore. Which is so I'm pleased I went on Monday. I was going to leave it till later in the week, but that was a good idea on retrospect. I then was referred to, say orthopedics, but isn't that feet? Ophthalmologist. There you go. That's the, I was going to say the finger people, the eye people. And I was in and out in probably 45 minutes, which is amazing. A lovely doctor in there who told me it was not actually a thorn, it was actually metal, because she flicked it out and it left a rust ring, which was pebble. And then she put me on antibiotic cream for my eye as well to avoid the rust causing any problems. So all in all, wasn't the greatest. And it was for the metal, so it was from grinding the metal, although I was wearing eye protection. We were doing it at such an angle that it still managed to get in, so something to learn for my future, because that's the second time I've got metal in my eye. Now, after getting over that, at some point during the week I was carrying a couple of sacks on my shoulder and I lost my footing into a hole with my other foot, and at that point, and I kind of slipped and I felt a little bit of a wobble, and I remember thinking at the time, oh, that's going to hurt, and it didn't hurt, and that must have been probably Wednesday or Thursday. And then Friday afternoon I was hedging and it started to really hurt, but I just like, we've got to get this hedging done. And then Saturday morning I took up sacks of feed to all of the houses, and then by Saturday afternoon got in to drive the Land Rover and realised I couldn't lift my feet off the floor. I got into bed and then I could not leave bed. So that was Saturday morning, and I've never felt pain like it. Most excruciating pain I've ever felt, so much so that when I had to get out of bed, I had to roll, but only in certain angles, and then I couldn't stand up straight, so I just stood on the side of my bed, bent over. Then when I did managed to get sort of stood up half and make my way to the bathroom, I was sweating and felt like I was going to vomit, and then almost passed out. So, not really sure what happened there. Never felt anything like that before, and I've had a bad back before. My back's always been a little bit bad, but this is new. I'm hoping it was a trapped nerve, because the other alternative is I slipped a disc. I don't really know much about that, and I feel like that's a lot worse. This, I think, was amongst the worst pain in my life. It has been quite terrifying, to be honest with you, realising how much of a key person risk I am around here, which I always knew, and like when I went skiing last month, I was worried about getting injured for this exact reason. But it is daunting to realise that if I get injured for more than a week, this place doesn't work. Like, pressure it put on mum and dad is extraordinary. So it made me a little bit concerned. I'm going to have to get in shape. I need to get in shape for two reasons. I'm in relatively good shape now because I'm quite active and always moving stuff around each day. But it's mostly my upper back and my shoulders, because that's where I carry everything, which is already bad, because I'm obviously not using the right technique and I'm not using my legs enough. But I need to get in shape because I need to be healthy and strong, and also need to get into shape if I'm going to try and get some traction on TikTok one day. Occasionally I might need to release a thirst trap or two, which is just the reality I find myself in, and I share these things with you as I share everything else. What else have we been up to this week apart from me? We got the cows onto the new pasture, which I was very excited about. First pasture of the year, so our wintering period has been December to February, which is, I think, pretty amazing. We are short on hay but haven't run out of hay. We've got two more options. We had a couple of round bales delivered from a friend, very grateful for, and then I still have got hay from my cousins, which was rubbish hay, but will still be good. So I've got to go and collect that at some point once my back is better. Dad's chicken house is going well. It's looking pretty solid. It is enormous, but I'm really excited for it. He's really proud of it, and I think all in all it is a good project. I'm really looking forward to making more progress on that. L2 is still under cover. They have managed to attack each other less as a result. I haven't had any deaths this week, touch wood. The ducks have started laying. Now, one of our ducks last year hatched off 10 ducklings, and she brought all 10 up to adulthood, which is extraordinary. We helped her along the way, but she has done amazingly well doing it, all runner ducks. And they've started laying, but I've yet to find out where they're laying. There's some on the island, but every morning they're scattered all over the place. And I found remnants of eggs that the crows have found, so if the crows can find them, theoretically I can find them. There has been talk of selling duck eggs in the future, but I think they're a bit of a hassle. I've been laying the hedge as well. I even did a bit of a time lapse for you all. I managed to pick the worst spot to do a time lapse because I left a tree in the way, so half the time you can't even see what I'm doing. But this was me just before I buggered my back, and so this might be the last hedge of the season. Considering I'm running out of time, you can really see the spring is really starting to set it in, and so I might be running out of time to actually get that done. And that you don't want to start disturbing things like nests in the trees, and also the early growth of those trees. So yeah, I've probably got a week left in that window, and I can't see myself doing much more this week, but we'll see. I'm hopeful to get back out there. Moving on to social media. After promising everyone I was going to start this week for like the third time, I promised a load of people I'm going to start on Monday, which is tomorrow. And considering I have buggered my back, is a daunting task, but I think I'll be able to just have to bumble my way through it. Other than that, no changes to social media, no changes to plans. One of my projects I'm thinking about is computer vision, machine recognition of chickens and individual chickens, and using that to actually identify individual chickens. If I can do that, I think that unlocks a massive opportunity of social media. Like, I've got lots of people that have sponsored hens, and if they can recognise them on stream, I think that'd be awesome. And we can do, I was recommended today that we should sort them into houses like Harry Potter and things like that, which all would just help get engagement and build that community even stronger. So that is a project that I need to kick off once I've got the platform up and running, which I'm going to have this week, which is exciting. I'm very confident now. I've spent this weekend playing around with it as well because I've got nothing else to do in bed. I've got running my two laptops, running one watching movies and the other getting work done. Been incredibly painful to do that, but so I haven't done as many hours as I'd like. that leads us on to the platform. Like I said, I've got a demo on Wednesday, which I'm really looking forward to. I think the platform's ready to show off, and so that is really exciting. And I'd be interested to get some feedback there. For the most part, it's almost there. I'd like to be live in the next week or so on my platform and supporting those to start playing around and building on that, which is really exciting. That is my next big goal. And Anthropic released a graph this week on what they think is the roles, as unsurprisingly, computer science, computing, finance. They're looking at like above 90% of jobs being replaced or removed. I don't know what time window. And they have agriculture down quite low. I don't think it will be. In some senses it will be, but as soon as we get robotics involved, construction, all that stuff, obviously the AI boys have skin in the game. They don't want to tell everybody that all of your jobs are gone immediately, which is a daunting task. I still feel like I've got the wolf at the door. I'm running out of time. Looking into the fund side of things and being able to build up capital to then inject into the ecosystem of companies, producers, suppliers, processors. That is also a daunting task. That fund running alongside the company is going to be instrumental in actually achieving this. As I've been lying in bed this weekend, I've been doing more research and watching a few YouTube videos from predominantly US farmers, smallholders, homesteaders. And like I do want to take a stance on it and I want to share my position on what size farming I think is the answer here. My goal here, and you'll never hear me spreading an anti-government message, and trying to villainize the government in all of this. You'll never see me saying that they're trying to control the food network, because fundamentally I don't believe they are organised enough to be able to have that malintent and to be able to do that. So you will never hear me say that I am against the government in any way. It's pointless. Like, we're not going to overturn the government, even if there's stuff that I don't agree with that they're doing. We can lobby with them, we can discuss, we can have conversations with them once we get to critical mass, to a point that we can start getting seats at those tables. That's my goal. So that also sort of plays into a lot of the, predominantly US, but I've seen it more and more in the UK, this concept of homesteading, we call it smallholding here in the UK, this concept of being self-sufficient on your own. I don't believe that exists. I don't believe that you can build a farm and you're completely self-sufficient and produce enough food sustainably for your family. And what I mean by that is, obviously you can do it from a practical point of view, a short-term practical point of view, in the sense that you can theoretically produce enough food, you can even produce enough energy nowadays using solar, wind, whatever, for your family. But mentally, physically, from an endurance point of view, it cannot happen. You can do it for maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, and I'm sure there are stories of people doing it for 30 years, etc. But for you to thrive as a family, to build a well-rounded family, to keep your mental health, to be able to do it in a way that you can build a community around it, your focus cannot be isolation. You can build small holdings if your goal is to work with others, to build communities, to collaborate, to build markets together. But if your goal is to build a small holding that maybe you start selling some of your product on the side, but you ultimately, the goal is to be self-sufficient. My camera died, back is killing me, and I need to go and move. I'm going to go and edit this in bed. So I don't believe that small holding alone is the answer here. I believe that small farms working together to produce a high volume of high quality, ecologically positive food is the answer. Small holding and self-sufficiency on the far left, and the whole point of like a almost divisive self-sufficiency. So it's not the purpose of it you want to feed your family, it's the purpose that you want to protect your family from the outside world and you want to be a bit off-grid effectively. This theory of being off-grid is not going to help everyone else. It might help you and your family in the short term, but I will tell you now, it will punish you for doing it. It will be the most painful thing you've ever done, because doing this, at the worst of times, it's the loneliest you can ever feel. At the best of times, it's the hardest work you'll ever do. It is incredibly rewarding, but you cannot live a life that isolated. So on the right-hand side, you then have large commercial farms producing tens of millions, hundreds of thousands to millions of product, whether that's your carrots, your sugar beet, whether that's eggs, chickens, whether it's vegan or omnivore diets, it doesn't matter. They're in that commercial end, and they predominantly work with supermarkets because they have to, because you don't get a market large enough to be able to take that product on without a supermarket. The gap that I'm filling and I'm looking to explore and build collaborative spaces within is that centre column. So you're looking at hundreds of animals, thousands of animals. Whether you're looking at a herd of cattle, it will be, it'll be a small to medium-sized herd. You're not talking about 5 or 6. You're talking about producing, dozens of animals a year. Whether it's chickens, you've got thousands of eggs. If it's a market garden, you're producing, tons of food a year. We're talking about producing more than you need of a certain type of product. You don't have to produce it across the board, and you can be self-sufficient in the other products that you do produce, but a product that you can export to the local market. And that is the space I'm looking to fulfill. Then if you connect all those together, you don't have to be a mass production in all of them, which we've seen in commercial farms. We've seen that they just focus on one thing and they do it very well. We want to do that on a small scale. Lots of people will still want to do get self-sufficient, and I'm not against self-sufficiency. I'm against isolated self-sufficiency. And again, the idea of driving away the government is usually anti-government, and this concept that they are somehow there's some sort of conspiracy of them trying to take down the food sector. They are not organised enough. That is the problem. That's the pain they're causing. It is not malicious, in my opinion. So that is the space that's most exciting for us here, and that's the space that we will build, and what we plan to build within is the small to medium-sized producers of a given product within that space, within that spectrum, allowing us to build a network of food from local providers, then can provide local communities, and they can do it on a scale that we can achieve prices that allow people to avoid food poverty. It allows prices that ensures that these families of those farms and the workers on these farms can achieve sufficient income to be able to make ends meet. This is something we'll get into more detail as we go, and it will take form, and I might be wrong of which column exactly I'm looking to explore, and it might be that small farmers are actually the answer, but we just need way more of them. I think small to medium size is the space, focusing on multiple lines of products in higher volume. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to find out. Let me know what your thoughts are, whether you think smallholding self-sufficiency is still a goal that you're working towards, and how you're doing it to avoid being isolated and the isolation that comes along. I'm always quite cautious about talking about this, because I think whenever someone talks about this as their dream, that's what they kind of picture, that's what they describe to me as this isolated life where they're producing enough food to feed their family. It is idyllic life if you're not doing it, because I tell you now, it is harder work than you could ever imagine. It is rewarding, it is enjoyable, but if you can do it alongside a community, you can work together and build off of one another, and that is the only way for us to progress this forward. Not in isolation, it is together. Thank you for everyone who's joined the Discord. I'm hoping to start Come Collect Eggs with me this week. If you're not in the Discord, jump in. There's some good discussions we already had in there, and some behind the scenes we'll share along the way as well. But as always, thank you, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.